There's a quiet moment that hits her long after the conversation ends. It doesn't come right away. It comes when she checks her phone and sees no message, when she scrolls through her notifications and finds nothing from you. When she realizes that your silence isn't temporary, it's final. That's when it hits her. The moment she understands you've walked away for good. And it's in that silence that your true power is revealed. Stoicism teaches that strength isn't found in reaction, but in restraint. The man who can remain calm when others seek closure, attention, or chaos is the man who cannot be controlled. Most men crumble under the weight of silence. They text again, they explain, they plead. But the Stoic man knows that silence, when grounded in purpose, speaks louder than any reply. When she realizes you'll never text again, she doesn't just miss your words, she feels the absence of your energy. Your stillness becomes a mirror, forcing her to confront her own noise. That's the difference between a man who needs attention and a man who commands respect. 1. The moment. She notices the shift. At first, she assumes you're just busy. Maybe you're playing the usual game. Maybe you'll reach out when the time feels right. But then time stretches. Hours, then days, and your silence doesn't break. What used to be a predictable pattern of messages now becomes emptiness. And that emptiness speaks. It tells her something she never expected. That you've reclaimed your focus, that the man who once replied quickly, who once sought connection, has chosen peace over pursuit. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." You stopped chasing what you can't control. You stopped pouring effort into people who treat your presence casually. That decision marks your evolution from reactive to composed. Your silence is not punishment. It's self-respect. It's the quiet act of saying, my energy is not for those who take it for granted. 2. The power of withdrawal. Most people think walking away means weakness, but withdrawal is one of the highest forms of strength. The ability to remove yourself, not out of anger but out of understanding, is emotional mastery. When a Stoic man decides not to text again, he's not trying to create curiosity. He's returning to balance. He's no longer seeking peace in someone else's attention. He's no longer fighting for space in someone else's world. Seneca wrote, "He who is brave is free." And freedom begins when you detach from the need for validation. When you stop explaining your worth to those who don't listen, when you stop performing for recognition, you begin to feel calm again. Your silence becomes your teacher. It trains you to find strength in distance, patience in uncertainty, and dignity in restraint. The less you react, the more powerful you become. 3. What she feels in your absence. At first, she might feel indifferent. She might even tell herself she doesn't care. But that's how every story begins before awareness arrives. When a man withdraws with composure, not bitterness, his absence becomes heavy. She starts to remember your calm tone, the way your words carried weight, the steadiness in your responses. She compares that to the noise she hears from others, the inconsistency, the emotional chaos, the neediness. That's when the realization begins to form. You didn't disappear to prove a point. You simply outgrew the need to chase. Your peace now speaks where your voice once did. Women, especially those used to being pursued, are drawn to contrast. Your silence becomes that contrast. While others compete for her attention, you remain still. You're not avoiding her, you've transcended her. When she realizes that your absence isn't a strategy but a decision, something shifts. The power dynamic reverses. You're no longer the one seeking approval, she is. 4. The calm that creates respect. A Stoic man doesn't send angry messages or emotional paragraphs. He doesn't beg to be understood. He lets silence do what words cannot. Silence, when rooted in discipline, commands attention. It creates space for reflection, both hers and yours. Your calm doesn't come from indifference, it comes from perspective. You understand that people show their truth not in what they say, but in how they treat your time and presence. When you stop explaining and start observing, you begin to see clearly. The energy that once drained you now fuels your peace. You no longer text to fix what isn't broken. You let it go. And in that letting go, You become untouchable. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." The Stoic man doesn't seek validation through attention. He demonstrates value through consistency. He remains dignified even in silence. 5. When detachment turns magnetic. Detachment doesn't mean not caring. It means caring without losing yourself. When you can walk away with calm certainty, your energy shifts. You become grounded, confident, and rare. Younger women especially feel the difference. They're used to emotional extremes. Men who text too much, who demand too much, who collapse when ignored. But the man who detaches without bitterness stands out. His silence doesn't feel cold. It feels powerful. When she realizes you'll never text again, she begins to question her own behavior. Not because you manipulated her, but because your peace exposed her noise. She wonders why your absence feels louder than anyone's words. She starts replaying moments in her mind, and that's when she feels the quiet truth: you were different. Your lack of reaction becomes your strength. You're not trying to make her miss you. You're simply living in alignment with your own values. That's what makes you magnetic. The world chases excitement, but people crave peace. And peace is exactly what your silence radiates. 6. The Stoic discipline behind silence. To remain silent requires discipline. It requires patience, restraint, and clarity. Stoicism teaches that silence is a tool of power, not weakness. The wise man uses it to protect his peace and to observe what others reveal through absence. Epictetus said, "If someone does wrong, the harm is to himself. If he does right, it is to himself." You understand this deeply. Her behavior no longer defines your worth. Your reaction defines your character. When she realizes you're gone for good, your absence isn't anger, it's wisdom. You've learned that not every connection deserves closure, and not every feeling requires expression. Some endings are cleaner in silence. You chose stillness because you've learned the value of emotional control. You understand that every message sent out of insecurity weakens you, but every moment of silence strengthens you. That's the discipline of the Stoic path. 7. The freedom of moving on. Quietly. The final stage of detachment is peace, not the loud kind that comes from distractions, but the quiet kind that comes from acceptance. You no longer wait for her response. You no longer wonder what she thinks. You've released the outcome completely. That's when true freedom begins. You're no longer tied to hope or memory. You've returned to yourself. The energy that once revolved around her now fuels your own growth. You work on your goals, your habits, your mind. You replace longing with progress. And while she might one day reach out, you won't feel the same pull. You've seen what peace feels like, and you won't trade it for temporary comfort. Your silence has become your sanctuary. Seneca once wrote, "He who has learned to die has unlearned slavery." The Stoic man has learned to let go, and in doing so, he's unlearned attachment. He's no longer bound by emotion, he's guided by purpose. Final Stoic reflection. When she realizes you'll never text again, what she truly feels is the weight of your discipline. She sees that you were capable of attachment, but even more capable of control. She understands that your silence wasn't revenge, it was peace. The Stoic man doesn't walk away to win, he walks away to remain whole. He doesn't need validation to feel valuable. His composure is his message, his stillness is his strength. And while others waste words trying to be remembered, he's remembered precisely because he said nothing. His absence becomes his presence. So when you decide to stop texting, let it come from calm awareness, not ego. You're not proving anything, you're preserving something, your time, your dignity, your inner peace. Because the moment she realizes you'll never text again isn't about loss, it's about recognition. She finally sees what she couldn't before, that your silence was never empty, it was full of meaning. And in that moment, you don't need to say a word. Your peace has already spoken.